City now 16 points clear. United, Spurs, and Liverpool round out your top four. Chelsea 4 points back of the Champions League line. Arsenal 12 points back of the Champions League line. Stoke City is supposed to be this difficult place to go. Well, you surprised Man City made it look that easy?
No, because they're in the bottom three. It used to be tough because it was a big physical side, particularly under Tony Pulis with the long throws, and every player was just knew their job. But it's changed. It's just changed, and they can't cope, and they look as if they might be going down. But I've talked about Silva a couple of weeks ago. De Bruyne gets a lot of headlines, Aguero gets a lot of headlines, Jesus gets a lot of headlines, and David Silva not so much. Now, I know he got a couple of goals tonight, but you can go back over his period at Manchester City, and he's one of the longer-serving players, and he's an 8 out of 10 plus almost every week, when fit, without fail. He has been a fantastic servant to Manchester City and Spain.
If you could have De Bruyne or Silva, who would you take?
Ooh. Well, there you go. You've always got to spoil it, haven't you? Things were going so well.
I'm just saying.
I mean, consistent-wise, David Silva for me. But yeah, it's just a tough choice.
Yeah. If they win something like 7 of their last 8, they'd hit that 100-point plateau. You surprised? I mean, even with how good City have been, you surprised it's been that easy in the Premier League?
Yeah, I am. Now, you look at Pep Guardiola, he comes in, a lot of spending, disappointing finish last season by their standards. But when you saw the likes of Manchester United, you expected more from Chelsea, certainly in terms of the spending and keeping up. Now, 100 points and a 16-point gap already with what, 6 games to go?
8.
Is an incredible gap, an incredible return. Yes, they're the best team in the league, no question. I just didn't expect it to be by this much.
It's how comfortable they look on every game that they play. They never seem like a team that is in trouble. They never seem like a team under pressure. Even when they go down in matches, you expect them to come back. And the ability of these players to deliver on a daily basis, that is credit not only individually to the players, but also to the coaching staff and Pep Guardiola that are demanding the very best from everybody on the field. And so when you get an opportunity to play, you're expected to perform at a certain level. They're doing that, and there's no secret here. They are the best team in the Premier League by a large margin, and it hasn't even been that close, to be quite honest with you.
I sat here last year and criticised Guardiola and said that his Manchester City team had no plan B, be it in the league or in Europe. You knew what they were going to do, and if it didn't work, he wasn't prepared to change it. Same this year. You know exactly what they're going to do. You know exactly what you're going to get from City, and you can't stop it. And credit to him and believing in his philosophy. He's not had to go to 4 or 5 at the back or change things. You've never seen a pragmatic side to this Manchester City team. They press, they play to beat you outright, and they continue to do that.
There's a couple of titles are changing the narrative in England in the last 3 or 4 years. First one was Leicester City. Great story. Everybody around the world probably followed it. Amazing story, amazing achievement. But a real eye-opener to some of the big clubs saying, how has this happened, by the way? How are we spending millions and they've won the league? Now at Man City, we're seeing something similar in a different vein, though, because the coaches will be saying, well, it's because he spent money. That's what they'll be saying to their owners. They'll not be saying, oh, it's because he's a much better coach than me. So a couple of titles are changing the narrative for some of these other teams, and they're setting the bar. Leicester did it. Now Man City are doing it.
Chelsea and Barcelona set to face off on Wednesday for a spot in the Champions League quarterfinals after the 1-1 draw in the first leg at Stamford Bridge. The SPI tells us Barcelona 89% to go through. I thought the first leg was pretty even. I understand Barcelona's the favourite, but 89% seems like
it is big. But then you remember back to the game where the year Chelsea won the Champions League, and how the hell they knocked Barcelona out over 2 legs is still a mystery. I don't expect Barcelona to dominate as much as they did on that evening, particularly in the Camp Nou, but I do expect them to go through. Chelsea have had defensive problems most of the season. There's been a lot of personnel changes, and I'm expecting them to play without a natural striker again, because that's what he did in the home leg. So I don't see Chelsea going through.
I think this is a Chelsea's team still struggling to find their identity. I mean, as much as they may still be defending champions, this season has been awful, particularly of late. It doesn't seem Antonio Conte knows exactly who his best 11 is, what his best formation is. I expect changes from the first leg, certainly in that regard. Whereas Barcelona, and you can criticize, or you may say that they haven't been at their sparkling best, but they can get results. And in Lionel Messi, there's never been a better single game changer than the little Argentinian.
And in this case, it's a single game changer that is actually rested because he didn't play over the weekend. Had his third kid, and so therefore he didn't play against Malaga, was given that game off. Now he was at home, recovering, fully fit. You have a fully fit, fully recovered, rested Lionel Messi coming into this match. The other thing for me is that Chelsea, because of the away goal by Barcelona, at some point they have to push forward. At some point you have to take a risk going forward. And if you do that, then Barcelona will pick you apart. That's what they do best. It's what they've been doing throughout the course of the season. Chelsea at some point will take a chance, and when they do that, Barcelona with Luis Suarez, with Lionel Messi, and the talent that they have going forward, I think it'll be too much for Chelsea.
There's a big pressure on Valverde because domestically he's got it right. Okay, they're going to cruise. They should cruise to the Championship very soon. But don't forget Real Madrid have just won back-to-back Champions Leagues, right? And they're still in the hunt, by the way. There was 2 new kids in the block, really, that were maybe shouting from the rooftops. One's out in PSG, but the other's still in Manchester City. So I think Barcelona and their directors and their supporters are looking to the coach, the new coach, saying, we've got to put a marker down in Europe again, not just in Spain, because Real Madrid are still lurking about, and there's Man City and 1 or 2 others hanging around as well. And I think that puts added pressure on them as well. Not that I think it's going to make a difference to the result. I'm just saying I think from a mindset of Barcelona, they'll want to establish themselves not just as champions of Spain again, but clearly champions of Europe.
Shaka, you agree? Do you see this as a pressure point for Barcelona?
Not right now. Maybe in time, yes, as they go deeper in the competition. Next round of games, as it's a free draw, you see exactly who you get matched up with. But just in terms of this hurdle, I don't think that bothers Valverde or anybody else.
Where do you have to put them out? Because you're talking about a team that's 5th in the Premier League at the moment, who, as you said yourself, have had the problems. So that's all I'm saying. That's where that little bit of pressure might come.
I understandably, but at the start of the season in the summer, this was a team in turmoil by all accounts, and nobody was quite sure where they were going, losing the heir apparent in Neymar. You know, you had Real Madrid twice defending Champions League champions. And now all of a sudden you put together this run, you run away with the league. I think whatever happens, you're happy with at least steadying that ship and showing that you're not to be counted out just yet.
But you're not happy by being knocked out by this version.
No, not at all. No.
And Barcelona is in this competition to win it. And going out to Chelsea, in the manner in which Chelsea have been playing, it would be unacceptable. If you advance in this competition later on and you get knocked out by one of the royal teams of Europe, and Chelsea right now is not one of those teams, it's not one of the top tier teams. Sorry to all Chelsea fans, but the fact of the matter is that you haven't been very good this season. If you go on in the competition and you lose later on in the competition, by whatever the case may be, against one of the top teams, maybe you can make an argument then. But I think right now, losing out to Chelsea, unacceptable by Barcelona standards. No question about that.
Chelsea's starting to fade out of the top 4 race. If that continues and they go out to Barcelona, how do we assess their season?
Oh, he'll just sack him. And rightly so. But not just for on the field, but he's been a pain in the butt off the field as well at times. And I think that's pretty common knowledge. I mean, he's wanted to have a fight, and you have a fight with the people at Chelsea who answer to Abramovich, then you're gone. So, if there's a smidgen of hope of getting in the top 4, he might survive to the end of the season. But if he goes out to Barca and that gap widens between them and the top 4, he's gone.
I'm not sure that even finishing in the top 4 is enough to save Antonio Conte if you limp in. Let's be honest.
No, but it might save him to the end of the season.
Until the end of the season, without question. Roman Abramovich has let go of managers for a whole lot less than we've seen from Antonio Conte this season.
If he goes out to Barca, does he make it to the end?
No. What do you mean? To the end of the season? Well, he made to the end of the season, but that's it.
Welcome into Extra Time. Great to have you with us. Craig Burley, Shaka Hislop, Alejandro Moreno, Sebastian Salazar, Gab Marcotti with us as well. Let's get right into the questions. You guys didn't interrupt me or anything. I did not really know what to do there. Ned Flanders.
Are you okay?
Yeah.
Are we going to make it through this now?
I'm just going to stare at you all the time.
I'll stare right back. Ned Flanders wants to know, all the talk for player of the season is Salah and De Bruyne.
Oh, no, you're not staring at me.
But David Silva...
Read the question and stare at me.
It's hard.
You get getting married, didn't you, son? I tell you, you think that's hard, just wait till you get married.
I knew this was Gab's laughing in London.
You brought it on yourself. We were just here, okay? We're going to answer the questions and then you started talking.
See, you already started. You welcomed, you came in on the jib and you were already fixing your bayonet thinking somebody's going to say something. I'm not paranoid or anything. Yeah. Somebody's going to try and get me here.
Hey, man, where are we? 1791 at bayonet?
You fixed the bayonet, you know. Got one at home. Right, carry on.
Very timely reference. I appreciate that. Ned wants to know if David Silva should be considered for player of the season in the Premier League. We talked about it on the show, yeah?
Well, he should be. I think there'll be a lot of Man City players. I was looking for a word that was rather smart and I couldn't find it. So I just went for lots.
You went for a lot.
So I narrowed it down to like a word with 4 letters in it.
But haven't they already voted for this? Don't they do this awards early on anyways?
You're asking me like I'm the expert. I don't know.
See, that was a leading... See, he tried to get you there.
He did.
I thought you would have done that homework.
So there's... I know Ali's very interested in the awards we have here in England. There's 2 awards. There's one voted on by the players, which is in fact very early in the season. And I could be wrong. I think ballots were due in last week. So David Silva's 2 goals tonight mean absolutely nothing. And then there's the Football Writers Award, which Stevie Nicol once won in 1988, I believe. And that's voted on by football writers, and that's later in the season. I think that's actually at the very end of the season.
I'm just saying, if you're going to ask a question about awards, maybe you should have done the preparation before the show.
Wow. Okay.
Do your job. That's all I'm asking.
I appreciate it.
I never liked the players one because I always find players... There's
like
always...
bias.
It's very cliquey. And like, if you've been rubbing somebody up the wrong way from another team, they're not going to vote for you, even if you've had a great season. You know what I mean?
So just to be clear, you prefer writers over players, is what you're saying, basically.
Oh, boy. That's a slippery slope.
Yes. There's a reason for that, but I won't go into it.
Next question. Can Barcelona go, I think, he says invincible this season in La Liga. I think he means to ask unbeaten this season in La Liga. Shaka?
I don't see why not. I mean, they've shown as much so far this season. It's going to take an awful slice of luck, but yes, they can.
Ali, agree?
Yeah.
How many games are left?
They got...
no, it's not many.
They played 28, so 10 left. They got Real Madrid at home May 6th, and then a visit to Sevilla at the end of the month. Could be somewhat complicated. Not selling anybody on that.
All the big tests, all the remaining big tests out this season are all at home, except that Sevilla game. So yes is the answer.
Okay, you just said that they need a huge slice of luck. You know?
Yeah,
and they're going to get it.
I've said they need a huge slice of luck, and if they get it, yes.
Oh, okay.
That's what I said. I just reiterated.
Okay. Moving right along, Sunju Park is asking the question, who will replace Mauricio Pellegrino as Southampton manager? Gab, I'll start with you on this one.
Well, you're talking about, there's 8 games to go, so it's obviously an interim thing. There have been rumors about Marco Silva, which I would find very, very unusual. You'd assume that he might hold out for the Everton job in the summer. Apparently, it's been reported that they hope to appoint somebody before the Wigan game this weekend, but as of right now, it's pretty much anyone's guess.
Why do you say the Everton... sorry, Gab, I've missed something. I probably have, and I do apologise. Why do you say the Everton job in the summer? Have I missed something? I've not been out much.
Well, I think the thinking is, obviously, Marco Silva, everybody wanted him last summer. He signed with Watford. He wanted to go and move to Everton. Watford said no. That's why it ultimately cost him his job at Watford. Yeah. But I think there's a school of thought that says that Everton still really like him and would bring him in the summer. It's not as if I think Sam was always going to be a short-term appointment, and it's not like he's pulling up trees anyway.
No, I get that. I thought Allardyce would have went in there for such a short period.
You've had some interesting opinions on Twitter. Unsurprising after the idiocy of sacking Claude Puel. Clueless, says one C. Burley, ESPN. You didn't like it from Southampton?
No. What, at the time? I didn't like.
I know you didn't like Claude Puel. You also don't like missing.
Sorry,
Pellegrino?
you put words in my mouth now.
Well, you said it on Twitter.
Unsurprising after sacking Claude Puel.
After the idiocy
Of sacking Claude Puel.
Yeah, so you disagree with that, right? I'm asking if you also disagree with the decision to sack Pellegrino.
Oh no, no. But they've got a chance to save themselves, and so I'm not surprised at all. Said that at the weekend on Saturday to a colleague of ours who's a big Southampton fan downstairs in the dungeons.
He was on Twitter early this morning.
But I was surprised by Claude Puel sacking, because I do think he, I think he's got a decent track record. I thought they did okay. Southampton fans were moaning about their style of football sometimes, but be careful what you wish for.
I'm trying to find our colleague that you mentioned, Chris Ragg's tweet. But this morning he said basically, it's Monday morning and Pellegrino still has a job.
Yes,
He's
yes.
very upset.
You see how you get into trouble? Because you get into cul-de-sacs, right? We were done with the questions. Huh? We were done with the questions. And then you started doing your own producing, directing, your own
You don't think
thing.
there's somebody in my ear whispering sweet nothing?
Your own thing. You started doing your own thing and then asking questions, trying to poke people. And then that's when you get in trouble.
More
I want to give
concerning
Chris
to
Ragg
me,
a shout out.
Craig's now referenced dungeons and bayonets in the same extra
Yeah?
time.
Oh, no, yeah. He's...
I'm starting to get a little bit concerned.
This is all good training for your married life that's coming up.
What, the
Dungeons and bayonets.
Well, actually, that's a different side to it. But what I'm saying is, on the offering up too much information, that's just you got to learn.
Yeah.
Less is more.
Yes.
Less is more.
I've been told that a lot.
With
when
with
there is
Mrs. Salazar when it happens.
when there's an opportunity to withdraw for an argument, just walk away. Step away. I know that very well.
Does she watch Extra Time? I presume she doesn't. I mean, she can't
I
be
think
that
you're
sad.
safe
Well, she's
to.
marrying you. But I mean... so sad.
That's the first mistake.
So who would have thought that Extra Time would be where I'd get marriage advice? Hey, Gab, while we have you here, any marriage advice?
Yeah, don't ever go to bed angry.
That was like way too real.
I failed at that last night.
I fail at that most nights, though, let's be honest.
What about waking up angry?
You failed at that
Right,
day.
that's just your nature, man.
No, it's just the way it is. Anyway, the snow's coming to Connecticut again. Great.
Yep, we got to get home. There is snow coming.
No
so
golf.
that'll do it for Extra. No golf?
No. Well,
Not even indoor lessons?
you sound surprised. I just said the snow's coming and you went, what, no golf?
Play with an orange ball.
Just go.
Wrap this up.
Just go.
That'll do it for us.
Time to go.
There you see.
Do you take this woman to be my... Oh.
You want to officiate the wedding? We need an officiant, Craig. I'm serious. I need
his wife picked out his suits, his marriage
Your
suit.
wife picked out your suits?
Yeah, you tell
Yeah, we look like waiters.
Good decision. Good decision.
Well,
That's just shaping the marriage.
listen, if you keep
This is
this
how
up...
we start. Trust me, this is how we're going to finish.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Right, we're out of here.
Another big week in the Champions League. Craig Burley and I right now are focusing on the clash between Manchester United and Sevilla at Old Trafford. The second leg, the first leg finished 0-0, Craig. But of course, one of the main talking points is Paul Pogba. He's doubtful for this clash after he picked up an injury in training on Friday. How much do you think they'll miss him?
Do you know, Sam, I think this Pogba thing's just sort of rumbling on now. I thought they showed again at the weekend they can be organised and they can be a threat without Paul Pogba. So I don't think it's going to make a major drama. McTominay's come in, he's done well. Rashford's been in the side recently, he's done well, particularly off the left-hand side. Try to find a bit of balance for Alexis Sanchez to show what he can do best. So I just think Pogba's a story because he's this big star who was the big money signing. But really, when it comes to the game, I think United should have enough to cope with Sevilla anyway.
Well, Stevie Nicol yesterday on our show said that he thinks that Sevilla, I don't know if he's hoping secretly more than he thinks, but he thinks that Sevilla could actually be a banana peel for Manchester United. Do you see where he's coming from with that one? I mean, if they get just one away goal, of course, United didn't get the chance to get that.
I mean, they could be. I mean, you could take any game, whether it be Champions League or FA Cup or some knockout competition, and we've seen results. I've been involved in results that have gone, and you think, well, how did that happen? So it could happen. I don't expect it to happen. I expect United to box clever, use the pace going forward. Lukaku's in good form. We saw how he was too physical for the Liverpool defence. If they get the structure right defensively, they've got one of the best, if not the best goalkeeper in Europe, Man United. I think they have to have a really bad night at the office for Sevilla to go through. Particularly, you know, Sevilla coming off the back of a defeat at the weekend as well. They're not exactly the greatest side in Spain by a long shot either. United are second in the table, deservedly so. I think they'll be in the quarters without too many problems.
All right, thanks so much to Craig Burley. That's his prediction. He is choosing Manchester United to go through. Barcelona and Chelsea will renew their rivalry this week in the Champions League, if you want to call it that. Craig's trying hard not to laugh, but Craig's with me on this one as we preview this clash. So Barcelona finished 1-1 at Stamford Bridge. Barca with the away goal. Now they're at the Camp Nou. Lionel Messi didn't play at the weekend because of the birth of his son, so some fresh legs. Craig, is there any way Chelsea can find a way back in this?
There is. There's always a way, and I could sit here and just say no. And then, you know, something happens like the year Chelsea won the Champions League.
Yeah.
When they knocked Barcelona out, and how the hell they knocked them out, it'll be a mystery to the day I die, because they just completely got smashed and then hit them on the counter attack.
But could lightning strike in that same place twice?
I would be surprised. I think when Conte goes to his press conferences, it'll be, what's your team? What's your formation? Are you playing with a striker? Are you playing Hazard up front? That's what the questions will be to him. Can you knock Barcelona out? I think there's a slim chance at best. And Barcelona, it isn't the free-flowing Barcelona side that Guardiola built and was so successful, but it's extremely pragmatic. It's more pragmatic than when Enrique was there, and I think it's still unbeaten in La Liga. And of course, you mentioned Messi, you got Suarez, and I don't expect him to have 85% possession like the ones used to have, but I expect him to go through.
Prediction?
I'm going to go 3-1 for Barca.
All right.
Whatever that means.
That means Barcelona goes through.
Yeah.
For sure. Thanks so much to Craig Burley. Well, there you have it. He's choosing Barca to go to the next round. Tottenham got past Bournemouth at the weekend, but there was still a big spot of bother as Harry Kane went down earlier, clutching his ankle, and he's supposed to have a scan today. We're waiting for the full diagnosis, Craig Burley, but should Spurs fans start worrying?
Well, I mean, I'm not sure about worrying. They're in they've got two things to play for. They've got the FA Cup and they've got to cement themselves in the top four. Mm-hmm. Is it a concern? Yes. They've got Llorente can come in, should be able to do a job, or he shouldn't be at the club. They've got Son, who's playing great at the moment, can play in several different positions. So they've got kind of options. You're not going to replace him light for light, because he's been phenomenal. So I hope he's all right, because I'm a big fan of Harry Kane, and you know, I like watching Tottenham play. So I hope it's not too serious. You know, he's not. You know, we saw people talking as if it was life-threatening. You know, it's an injury, it's an occupational hazard. I also saw within a few seconds of this happening, you know, talk about England's World Cup hopes.
I was just
England
are
not going to win the World Cup.
But they want to go far at least. So should England start
I'm
worrying?
not going to go far at the World Cup. Harry Kane, I'm not. I'm not anti-English. I don't care. It's not a Scottish thing. You can be Scottish and not anti-English. That's me. I'm a realist. And England are nowhere near the best sides, so they're not going to. It's not going to overly affect them at the World Cup, although their backups are not great. I just hope Harry Kane as an individual is going to be back playing soon, because that'll be a bonus for Tottenham, and it might be a little bonus and help England get out the group stage.
But that's as far as they're going to go.
Well, I think that's for England. I think that's realistic. Yeah, you're talking about a team that finished bottom of the group in Brazil and got knocked out of the Euros by Iceland. Well, they've got some good players. Harry Kane's arguably the best one, but it isn't the difference between, you know, going to a semi-final or a final of the World Cup. Not when you look at the other top nations that are going to be playing there.
He calls it like it is. Thanks so much to Craig Burley for this one. We'll continue tracking Harry Kane's progress right here at ESPNFC.com. Craig Burley is joining me because it's Monday, and you know we've got to tackle the player power rankings on ESPNFC.com. Plenty of gentlemen here decided to score more than one goal, Craig, and Marcus Rashford, for his brace against Liverpool, tops the list.
All the talk about Rashford is, you know, how is he going to get regular game time at Man United? It's going to be stunting his progress, World Cup in the summer. But, you know, got a game on the left-hand side, getting some game time. I like him. I think eventually he's going to play through the middle, which is natural position. But two great goals, albeit the second one was a little deflection. but I think a terrific player, and I hope to see him more in the starting 11.
The big man Cristiano Ronaldo doesn't like to be second to anybody. He got 2 goals too, Craig, against Eibar.
Well, he just, started the season, just likes people to write him off, and then a small thing called the Champions League comes along, and he starts getting, the veins start bulging out, and the blood starts pumping, and he starts getting excited, and he's back in form, and you just never write this guy down. He's a fantastic talent, and he's back in the goals again.
He is back in the goals.
He's never out the goals.
Lewandowski, he missed a penalty, but still got 3 goals.
Well, I can't blame his teammates at the end of the year if he doesn't get that award that he didn't get last year. And he's, you know what I'm saying. I wonder if... No, he's not. I was going to say, I wonder if Conte's regretting letting this guy go on loan. He's done all right, and Chelsea... Giroud and Morata couldn't hit a cow in the backside with a banjo. Couldn't they? They just couldn't.
Not at the moment.
At the moment, we don't even know if they're going to play in the Champions League in the new camp. The answer's probably not. So I kind of think he's not regretting letting him go, Conte, because he probably doesn't care. But nice to see him leaving, going to Germany and doing well.
Dybala getting goals again, but that's kind of standard behaviour.
Yeah,
exactly.
Good little player.
Rodrigo, now here's one that I would like to see a little over there, because Valencia had a big win over Sevilla. Sevilla were at home, but we know that Sevilla have 1 or 2 eyes on that clash with Man United, but still pretty good, especially in the top 4 race.
He's still at home, and he's still got a brace, which is, and it was a big game, obviously. Sevilla-Valencia is always a big game. And if you've got an issue with it, feel free after it, just email the editors and say, this was an absolutely ming-mong list, and I'm not happy with it. See what the response is. Mind to say it was nothing to do with me. This guy is, Son Heung-min, is, have I pronounced that in the right order?
Son Heung-min. Yes, you did.
Son. I think he's a terrific player.
Yeah.
And for a long period, he was kind of on the periphery at Spurs, and I kept thinking, what is it? There must be something that's keeping him out this side, and he's not. But he's just found his feet, and I think you wouldn't notice if he played him on the left, played him on the right, played him through the middle, played him behind Harry Kane, wherever. He just does such a good job in there.
Well, player got some goals for Nice, but Willian at number 9. It was against Crystal Palace, but we know Willian's been on fire.
No, Willian's been playing really, really well. There's not a doubt about that. But Palace have got a dozen injuries, and Chelsea were at home. You got Jamie Vardy, who scored a wonderful goal in a rout at West Brom.
Yes.
Great goal. If you've not seen it, take a look at it. Over the top, great ability. You've got Kennedy, who got 2 goals for Newcastle, beating the hapless Southampton. And then you got Chris Wood, who scored 2 goals at the infamous game at West Ham, where the people were coming on the pitch and there was all sorts of trouble. He scored the brace there in Burnley's 3-0 win, but they don't make the list. It beggars belief. I can't answer your questions why they don't make the list. I can only tell you they're not on the list. You have to take that up with other people.
You do indeed.
If you're not happy. I'm just saying, Vardy with a great goal, Kennedy with a couple, Chris Wood with a couple, and I haven't even got to Italy, France, and some of the other countries yet. What the hell's going on?
We need to have a Craig Burley list. Anyways, thanks so much to Craig. Continue tracking all of these here at ESPNFC.com.